When the judges voted the Triumph Thruxton R as the Pirelli South African Bike of the Year for 2016, we braced ourselves for howls of derision and hordes of emails criticising our decision. However, our choice was vindicated when American website motorcycles.com also voted the entire Bonneville platform as their Bike of the Year. But how can a retro bike beat all the thoroughly modern motorcycles that are current for 2016? Well, that's just the point. These bikes might look retro, but underneath they are thoroughly modern motorcycles. There's no difference between this and, say, well, a ZX-10 Kawasaki. Obviously different classes, but they're just as modern under the skin. I've already tested and absolutely loved the Thruxton R, but now it's time to take a look at the daddy of the range, the T120 Bonneville. It would be fair to say that Triumph invented the whole retro bike scene with the first of the new Bonnevilles back in 2001. Time and tide waits for no one, however, and the Bonnie was in danger of being left behind by the bikes which it inspired. The 865cc parallel twin motor was underpowered and the brakes were of the "am I going to stop at all" variety. The style was there, but the substance was not, and that's exactly what I said about the Thruxton R. And just like the Thruxton R, the T120 has got a whole lot better. The T120 shares a frame and engine capacity with the Thruxton, but that's about as far as it goes. These are two completely different beasts. What can be said for both of them, however, is that they are beautiful. Beautiful to look at and beautifully made and finished. If there's one area that Triumph have really nailed, it is this. The paintwork is deep and lustrous, the chrome is perfection, and the finish to the alloy parts second to none. Pride of ownership is very high with this bike. What is not immediately apparent is that the new for 2016 Bonnevilles are liquid-cooled. The engine is still unmistakably a Triumph parallel twin, with cooling fins on the cylinder head and barrel where they always were. What's not so obvious is the small, unobtrusive radiator fitted to the front down tubes of the frame. You really have to look hard to see it, and then from the front of the bike only. It's completely invisible from the side. It's a very nice bit of packaging. Swing a leg over the T120 and the immediate difference you feel over the Thruxton is the weight. It's only 13 kilograms heavier, but it feels a whole lot more. It feels so solid and planted. The good thing is that it wears this weight very low down, and with it being such a physically small bike, it's never overwhelming. In fact, it feels so solid that it makes almost every other bike in the world feel flimsy. You have to remember that this bike is all metal. There's only two bits of plastic, and that's the side panels. The rest of it is solid, chunky British steel. The T120 loses 16 brake horsepower and 6 Nm of torque over the Thruxton, which is a bit confusing because the engine in the Thruxton is called the high power, and the engine in the T120 is called the high torque, and yet it's got less torque. The difference comes inside the engine. The T120 has got a heavier crank and a lower compression ratio, so it makes its torque much lower in the rev range. It feels a bit lazier and not quite so punchy as that in the Thruxton. But punch it does still have. It's really the most understated engine of all. Open the throttle to almost any revs and there is a creamy smooth surge of power, helped by the uncannily smooth parallel twin engine. Back in the 60s, the T120 Bonneville was the road burner of the day. It was the superbike of the day. These days, it's not a superbike anymore. But don't be fooled by the retro clothing, because underneath all that, this is a thoroughly modern motorcycle, and it is a fantastic hoot to ride.